I'll be taking through absorption costing. So, for a business to function, you need to ensure that all costs that are used in the manufacturing process are covered. You have to ensure that a profit is made, and at the same time, you have to ensure that the business is performing well enough. It's not overcharging its customers or it's not undercharging, because obviously both of them have their disadvantages. Anyway, so you have to stay on top of the game basically. So absorption costing comes into manufacturing account with overheads. So if remember I was talking previously that if we have a company that produces tape, so one area can be responsible for assembling. So let's assembly, and another area can be responsible for polishing. So in a case like this, we have two different areas in the same manufacturer, in the same company. So how do we share out things like rent? Because they may not occupy the same area, so we can't have the rent. Say you're gonna pay 2,500 and I will pay 2,500, right? So we need an equal basis to share out this. So in that process, we calculate something called the OAR, is basically overhead absorption rate. And this is how we share out overheads. So let me take you through further. So we have cost center. So just now I was telling you about assembly and polishing. I hope it's polishing. So these here are two examples of cost centers because they accumulate costs. Alright, so after that we have our two cost centers. So we have assembly and we have polishing. So sometimes we may have costs that are directly attributed to assembly. For instance, we may have a supervisor named Ashley in assembly. So Ashley worked 2,000 and say somebody in polishing 3,000, say Prakash. So we can put those costs directly. So this is allocated costs. Allocated costs, well, this will be more specific, supervisor. It's supposed to be a bit lower, right? But then we have to get cost that has to be a portion. A portion mean it has to be shared out, and that was like rent, more specifically factory rent, right? Or electricity, right? So we need a fair basis to share out these things. So we have rent, and we will share out rent based on the based on floor space, electricity on kilowatt, canteen based on the number of employees visiting the canteen or the number of employees in the cost centers. What other costs can be shared out? Heat. In some factory, heat is necessary. That will be calculated according to volume. But the good thing, in most cases, TXC will provide the basis. So let's go through a question. Superform Limited. Please note that the question has three parts. It was extracted from a textbook, so we have 16, 18, and 20. All three of them are interlinked. Superform Limited is a manufacturing business. It has two cost centers, machining department and finishing department. So in a case like this, you start off and you put your machining over here. And you put, what's the next one? Finishing. I should have put the example more at this end. Anyway, it's already like that. Alright, so now the first thing we do is we're gonna put our allocated costs, because remember this is a simple thing. So allocated, so we have supervisor, and below that we have depreciation. So supervisor here is 2,900 and 2,500. We have 5,000 and we have 1,200. So far good. Cost to be apportioned, we have power and we have rent. So we have apportioned apportioned, we have power, and we have rent. So this one here has to be calculated. It's not straightforward like allocated costs. So power, in the two department, there is a total of 6,000 kilowatt. So to share out this, basically we check machining department use 5,000 out of the 6,000. So it's going to be 5,000 divided by 6,000 times 5,400. I think this would give you 4,500. Yes. So here will be 4,500 and over here is going to be 900. And that will give you back a total of 5,400. Right, so the next one is 1,000 divided by 6,000 times 5,400. And this will give you 900 and this was 4,500. Same thing over here. 18 plus 6 is going to give you 2,400. Machining was 1,800. So it's going to be 1,800 upon 2,400 times 10,000. The $10,000 is from the question here, right? So 1,800 divided by 2,400 times 10,000 is going to be 7,500. And obviously this one is supposed to be 2,500. But you can always calculate it and see. Alright, so that's the first part. So now we need to add down. I am not going to add down because the answer is on the next page. So let's correspond. So we have our 2,925. Or we should just add down. Anyway, we have 20. Let's just add on. 7,500 plus 4,500. So we could just go for easily and just check our answers. So 99. 2,500 plus 1,200 plus 900 plus 2,500. 7,100. And this is basically going to name total indirect costs. Total indirect costs. Please don't put in. We have 99 and 7,100. Okay, basically same thing. So you see here they put the ratio. So this here you could just remove the 3 zeros and 3 zeros. You get 5:1. This one, remove the 2 0, 3 2 0, but this can also be divided, right? It's gonna be divided by 6 ones, 6 threes. So this is a 3:1 ratio, and this was a 5:1. Doing this, you could still get the same answer, right? Because not everything can be reduced like this. Some might be more challenging. We'll do whichever is easier for you. So we have this. This is just for part question 16. So let's look at question 18. The answer is right on this page. Alright, so now we need to calculate an absorption rate. Now we need to calculate the actual OAR. I just hope I do not click on this screen and the answer pop up like that. So we are given the hours. So let's read through the information. Returning to Superform Limited, the following details are available about labor hours and machine hours in the two cost centers. So we have labor and we have machine hours. Calculate the absorption rate. So now what you need to do is select the higher amount of hours. So for instance, for machining department, we have labor at 600 and we have machining at 2,400. So the higher here would be machining hours, right? And for finishing department, it's labor hours. So let's bring back the cost from the previous one, machining department, and we had finishing. I think machining was 19,900. The next one was 7:1 or 7:5. 7,100. So to calculate the absorption cost, you have the total indirect cost, and you have to divide this by the selected hour, right? And this is what you call a dominant hour. So in this case, the dominant hour is $2,400 for machining department, and for finishing department it's $600. Alright, so let's calculate that and then we'll check the answer. 19.9 divided by 2,400. So that's gonna give you $8.29. Can't round up. 7,100 divided by 600. And this is gonna give you $11.83. Please note that in the calculation process, you are not going to use this answer. You're going to use the full form of the answer, because the answer is $11.8333 recurring, right? So in terms of the exam, you basically input back this into the calculator as in 7,100 divided by this amount of hours and the whole figure you're using for calculation. If you don't, you might have a few points off, as in points as in answers. In terms of marks, I do not know what we do there. So we'll look here. So they say the dominant factor for machining department is the machine hour, labor hour. Yep. Do we have the same thing? Yeah, we do. All right, let's look at the final part and yeah. So let's price a job. In November, the following details are available. So we are asked to calculate the price for the job and then state how much profit the person will make. So let's go pricing a job. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to have our direct material, or you can put pricing of the job at the very top. Direct material at 4,800. And let me put the dollar sign here. Direct labor. So for this here, it could be calculated. So we have 20 hours, and the thing is we have a fixed rate per hour. So you can just times it, and it's not gonna affect anything, right? So 20 hours times $12 is gonna give you $240. And now we're gonna go to indirect costs. So you have manufacturing. Sorry, this is machining, and we have finishing. So in the machining department, they spend 22 hours, and over here they spend 4 hours. So machining department is $8.29. $8.29 times $11 and what? 83 cents. So let's calculate quickly. 22 dollars and 29 $182.38. So I use the rounded figures, right? So if you use the whole figure, you may have your answer slightly off. I think they should have made, they will make probably a different, they would have a variation in the marking scheme to accommodate for a few dollars difference. I would like to believe, I'm not sure. 32 cents. Alright, so let's add this up quickly. So you have $47.32 plus $182.38. 240, 4,800. So you have $52.69. $5,269.70. And we have a markup. So our markup is 40%. So you have $5,269.70 times 0.4. and this is going to give you $2,107.88, and you add this to the 5,200, you have $7,377.58, and this is your selling final price or selling price. And that's it. Let me see. Alright, basically have the same thing. That's about it, guys. All the best. The very best.